Hi, I'm Brittany. Welcome to my.
Welcome to my
Okay,
channel, guys.
I'll be serious because AI is gonna cut this, so I don't want it to be like something in my
Is it
like
though?
AI is
Is
gonna
it
go.
though?
This should stay. It's
I can
okay.
tell. I can tell AI to make it stay
No, I'm putting on
because
my serious face.
I don't want your serious face.
Good
We
because
don't
I
want that
don't have
crap.
one.
We don't. Good, because that was going to be a fail anyway. Okay. Okay. So this is going exactly like I hoped it would already. All right, everybody. Big moment. This is the first time I've interviewed someone on the Business of Creative podcast. You normally see me literally first Brittany, first one. I sit in my office alone and I do episodes talking to my phone. Uh,
Oh,
and
I feel
so
so special. I don't think when you
yeah,
asked me to do this, I realized.
no,
Um.
no, you're the
Okay.
first one ever. And so I wanted to introduce you to everybody, but this is something I've been playing around with on the podcast. Is just I have so many friends, so many creative friends, and people also who are involved in things that I'm involved in. That and also too just full transparency, it's way easier for me to interview somebody and let them talk than it is for me to talk directly to camera. So this is a convenience for me on top of that. But so everybody, Brittany is a dear friend of mine and also involved in a lot of the things, the creative pursuits I'm involved in. And so I knew she'd be the perfect one to try this new platform and this new format and to be my first guest on the show. So Brittany, you're making history right now.
I
Don't screw it
am.
up.
That's all I ever want to do.
Screw it up.
Make
Or
history.
make history, right? Got you. Okay. So everybody, Brittany's a very special human being to a lot of people, but to me as well. And so I want her to just start with telling everybody, Brittany, a little bit about yourself. And then we'll move into the stuff that you and I are working on together with our team. So tell everybody who you are. Who's Brittany?
Yeah. Um. Listen, in full, just like in a vulnerable moment, I don't know how to answer that. That's a very like
Hmm.
I am very special to a lot of people, and I sort of live my life with that mindset, right? It's easy for me to fill my time and days with like other people and other projects and like things I'm passionate about. So probably that I don't have to like sit alone in my head and answer that question. Um, that's not a good answer, but I think that's the
No.
reality of it. Does anyone know? Does anyone know who they are? Because I feel like I could sit here and be like, I'm a mom, and I'm an
Mm-hmm.
employee, and I'm a philanthropist, and I'm a superhero, and I'm all of these things, but those are just my roles in relation to other people. Um, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I'll let you know when I grow up.
Well, maybe the point is to not quite grow up all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a journey. You don't ever really know who you are. You like know who you are in that moment. You know who you are like in the context of what's happening in your current scenario. But I don't know. I just try and do good. That's who I am. I think I'm a good human being.
That is a great way to say it. So I'll tell you what we'll do is I'll tell you because what you said is totally true, and anybody who knows you will understand that. But I'll tell you kind of what you are to me and to Lex, my partner in Redfish Film Fest in our Redfish brand, which is really what I want you to talk about.
Yeah.
But you're a great encourager. That's which is an incredible power. But you're also a crazy hard worker, which is a
Yeah.
harder thing to do, right? You're a worker. Like you like to be involved with things, and everybody likes to be involved with things. But if you're going to make a creative idea into a real thing, it takes massive amounts of work. And that's where I think most people, one, don't understand that, how much work it really takes, which is why we say to each other all the time in our Redfish group and also We Wall Films, Courtney and I, we say, this is why more people don't do special things
Yeah.
because it's hard, man. It's hard. So you're a great encourager and you're a great worker. And just on a personal level, I don't think I've ever told you this. That we can cry together on this podcast. We're going to have an emotional moment. Right? I don't think I've ever
Okay.
told you this, but you are one of the few people I think I've ever met who truly lives exactly who you are right out there in front of everybody. Like you don't
Yeah.
seem to hide anything about, you're very self-aware. It's super impressive and rare. And
Thank you.
so, because, and the beautiful thing about that is, you know, when people meet you, or when I met you, you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
There's no,
It's
exactly who you are.
you can like it or hate it. I'm not
Right,
for
right.
everybody, but I found that in just being myself, so about backstory, I grew up and I wasn't really authentically myself, and I had
Mhm.
all of these friends, and I was pretty popular, and I just felt, like, so alone. And I was in therapy in my 20s, so, like, my self-awareness it's not me, it's tens of thousands of dollars of therapy,
Whatever
but,
gets you there.
lots of patience on other people's part to get me here. But, they were just like, "You don't like, you're alone, like, you have to let people know you." Like, the fear that people will not like you will keep you alone forever and ever, and so, like, yeah, I just am who I am, which is great because what that does is it like filters people for me. The people they're not going to like me. I'm not 3 months into a situation and I find out people don't like me when like I start being myself. We find out very quick. So you have to have tough skin because when people don't like you go, oh no, like it's me that you don't like.
Right.
But on the other side of that, when people do like you. That relationship can grow at a much quicker pace when you're just like, here's what you're getting, take it or leave it.
I tell you what. So I talk on this podcast. I talk a lot about branding and the crucial importance of clarity. Like, figure out exactly who you are, what you're awesome at, and the kinds of people you want to associate your business with. And the more you do that, the more they sort themselves out.
Yes.
That is so people, especially in business, they are like, I need all, I say, who are you after? Who's your avatar, your persona, or whatever the word is? And they go, well, I just want everybody. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You
No.
don't. But the risk of being super clear about who you are as a person, but also as a company, is there's going to be people that go, nah, pass.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurts your feelings, right? It
Yeah.
can hurt your feelings.
You have to
But
almost
in the
have like
long
an
run, it's
ego
better.
death. To be able to be fully authentically yourself, you have to be able to like accept that you're not for everybody and also be really at peace with the fact that that's okay because if I'm honest with myself, like maybe cut this out, right? There are people where I go, if this person likes me, I should reflect on that. Like there are
Mm.
people who you really don't align with their views, their thoughts, their feelings, or like their character. And then you go, like, if I'm trying to be palatable to the masses, at what sacrifice, right? Because the reality is I don't feel the same way as everybody or respect the same values in people that some people agree with. So if I'm for everybody, I'm doing myself a disservice because if I'm being honest, everybody is not for me, and that's
Mm.
okay.
That's a very healthy. All that therapy paid off.
Yeah,
That's a
good,
very healthy
good,
way to
good.
look at everything. It really. I
Awesome
mean, hey,
thank you
listen.
card. Guys,
Yeah,
Kevin
because
said
I
it
know a lot of
worked.
people. I know a lot of people who have spent years and years in therapy and are still a mess.
Yeah.
So you've at
So I
least
won
got your money's
therapy.
worth.
That's all.
You
Like
at least
I'm very competitive, and so I'm always trying to win things that are not a competition whatsoever.
you
Like
won therapy.
I'm winning. You said you liked my background, and I was like, am I winning podcasting right now? Like no competition at all, but I'm winning. So
Make it. I like
I
that.
won there.
I'm winning therapy. Everybody, crushing it.
And
Top.
every single one of my exes is just gonna be like, no, that's not.
No, she's not. No, she's not.
Oh,
Yeah, there you
I'll
go.
hang it up as a
All
degree
right.
on my wall.
Yeah. Right. Top
Yeah.
tier therapy superstar. Okay, so a little. Why don't you tell everybody how we met and then how we got involved in Redfish together? Because
It's a funny
that is a
story.
creative. That's our current creative pursuit, right? You're
Yeah.
like a crucial part of our team
Yeah.
with Redfish, and that's evolving in real time. Like right now, we have a meeting this afternoon after this
Yeah.
podcast, right? To
I'm
do
so
this. So
excited. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to
me
be
too.
careful not to like say anything that can't be on a podcast, right? Which is
Right?
hard because we're on a team. So normally, like if that lightning strikes, you're the person I go to and I'm like, oh my God, what do you think about this idea? And then we
Yeah.
have like this whole like list of ideas for us to talk about in an hour,
Right.
and I'm just gonna have to like not allow
Right.
myself to do it. Okay, so
Right.
the story of how
Well,
we met
yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's kind of funny in hindsight because I didn't know like most things in life, right? Like I only had my side of that experience. but I had seen a McDonald's commercial that you made that I now know that like
Mm.
Courtney was the visionary behind, sort of. And like
Yeah.
that's like her lens. So um, I had been asked to MC an idea camp, and they said like Kevin Elliott's gonna come talk, and I was like, I love Kevin Elliott because I love things that make me feel something. We all like the mindless like media where you're just like disassociating, but at my core, I am such a like cerebral, philosophical, like deep thinker, and it's like weirdly how I escape from the world is trying to understand it. So I love art that connects to emotion. And so I had this huge like respect and like admiration for you, but we had never met. And
Mm.
so I knew I was then seeing Idea Camp. I knew that was coming up. And my co-host and I had sort of thrown around ideas because I am extra, right? About like
A
what
little bit.
if we were both huge fans of yours. And so we said, we know this cannot be an everyday like idea camp. We knew that we had to do something to make it like special because you're special. And we wanted you to know that like we see that you're special and we like appreciate that. And so I you walked into like an after hours event and I was like at the check-in desk. And I said, hey, you don't know me, but I'm seeing this event that you're doing. And I really just want to wear a shirt that says like I love Kevin. But like you don't know me. You don't know that I'm extra. You don't know that that's like very in my personality. And I didn't want to creep you out, right? I didn't want you to show up
Yeah.
to this idea camp and be like, what did I
I have a
get
stalker
today?
now. Every
Yeah,
guys, I
like
have a stalker. Right.
right, two
Right.
of them, because we were both
Two,
going to
two
be
of them.
wearing these
Right.
shirts.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
you, in true Kevin credit, right? Like you're so good at honoring the people that are a part of your process. Like you are not egotistical about it at all. You're very humble. And so you said, well, you don't know this, but you actually love my business partner.
Mm.
And I thought, okay. And it was a little bit like, I was like, just let us love you. But you said, I have a WeWa Films shirt in the car, and you just want to wear that. And I was like, no, that misses the entire mark.
Right.
Thank you, but no, thank you. So then we went to Idea Camp and I heard you speak, and I remember you like talking about Courtney, and you were like, she's like a brunette millennial, she loves Starbucks and all these like just like this like thing about Courtney. And I went, I kind of do love your business partner. Like you were
Yeah.
right.
I kind of
And
am my business partner. Right. Right.
yes.
Right.
And then so then that was true. But also then there's this other skill set you have where you just like the more I've gotten to know you, the more you were really, really good at like seeing a special thing in people and harnessing that. You're really good at going like, this is your strength. This is where you should be, which again, for someone who like can't even give a bio of themselves, and is like, I really like I'm very authentically who I am, but I really do think I have like Peter Pan syndrome. Like I'm going to be growing up the rest of my life. So I don't know. So to have someone come in and go, hey, this is kind of who you are, like as an objective opinion of someone you respect, it was very like fulfilling for me. Like I was like, I need more of that in my life. And then you work on these projects that are just like things I'm passionate about. Like you were like, we're gonna bring a film test here. And I was like, we're what? Like, let's do it. So I sort of just I just sort of I just inserted myself, which is kind of like again who I am as a person. So I
Yeah.
don't think there was ever a moment where we were like, Brittany's gonna be on the team. I just you had said like, hey, I know you know a lot of people downtown and we want merchants to be involved. So can you like set up some meetings? And I could have just connected you, right? But I did it. I said, yeah, I'll set up a meeting. We will all meet at, the
Right.
press and have
Right.
coffee and we will all talk. And just like
Yeah.
inserted myself into this meeting. And then at the end of I think that first meeting, you were just kind of like, do you want your own email? And I was like, yeah, I do. And then we never, I don't know the moment that we said, like, Brittany's on the team. I don't know the moment that that turned. Um, I just was like, this is such an amazing thing. I want to be a part of it. And then you were just kind enough to let me, and you never told me to go away. So here we are.
That's, and I've told you this, is that that's my favorite kind of person, and that's 100% accurate how it went down. Brittany just started sending me texts and going, hey, so I've scheduled this meeting for you at this coffee shop with this person, so we'll see you
Yeah.
at what, 4 o'clock. And
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, this is um as and so and people who don't know the film world and know the roles there, you see this stuff on like credits of movies. You'll see directors and you'll see producers and you'll see gaffers and all these, and maybe not know what those are. And it took me a long time to figure this out. But what you're describing is my skill set, which took me a very long time to figure out, is that I'm a producer. That's what producers do. And so if
Yeah.
you they see special things, we just having a that's just our gift, right? That's the producer's gift. And you've heard these stories about like Quincy Jones discovered Whitney Houston, or somebody had heard her singing at a gas station or something. And lots of people heard Whitney Houston singing. It wasn't Quincy Jones, excuse me. It was Clive Davis. Um, Quincy, people had heard Whitney Houston singing in church, and she was, but Clive Davis heard that voice and went, I know what to do with that voice.
Yeah.
David Foster did the same thing with Celine Dion. He saw her sing, I think, the national anthem at a rodeo in Canada. David Foster is an incredibly famous producer, by the way, and saw her
I
and went,
love that you know that I don't know that.
"Yeah, David Foster." I was like, "Oh, wait a minute! I'm talking to somebody who doesn't know." You know, he produced Chicago and lots of other amazing things, but he saw, but everybody heard Celine Dion sing that day. But David Foster went, "Aha, that's a superstar.
Yeah.
I know how to do this." So um, that's and it took me until well into my 40s to realize that's actually that's my thing. That's my ability, is I know how to do that. So I'm always looking for people. I don't even have to do it on purpose. It just sort of occurs to me. I will notice people and go, wow, you're special at this thing. And what I've learned and trained myself to do is to tell them,
Yeah.
is to say, you're special at this. So the one of the best things that happened when you say, like you said, you inserted yourself into this, which is exactly what I wish more people would do, is you immediately started talking in the we. You started talking in the second person. So in other
Yeah.
words, it wasn't Kevin's doing this and Lex is doing this and I'll do. It's like, we're going to do this, and we have this. We and us.
Yeah.
You immediately saw yourself as a team member, which you are, and more and more and more have become. So all the producer's job is just to say yes. Go, okay, you're special. Do you are then the other thing, which is are they a worker? Because a lot of people are special at something and they won't do the work to make it real. And then it was obvious you were and are a worker. And then at that point, the producer's job is to let them just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just let people go do what they're passionate about. So
I
you mentioned Redfish a few times, the film festival. This started as a
Yes.
festival.
Yeah.
So for people, if they've never heard of this, they've never heard of this Redfish Film Fest thing. What is it?
Well, I don't believe that people haven't heard of it. Like, I live in that world where I'm just like, everyone is so amazing. I'm certain everyone's heard of it. But
Yeah.
um so I can give you my answer to that. I think that it's
Yeah.
sort of one of my favorite things about Redfish is I think if you picked 10 people that were a part of this in any capacity and you asked them what it was, I think you would get a different answer from every single
Mm.
person. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, right? Because art is interpretive. You can't
Yeah.
just say like this is an actual thing and people go, okay, but it's art. So for me, it was a film festival, which was wonderful and beautiful, and I love documentaries, so I think that was, like, the
Mm.
draw, but more than that, it was this sandbox for creatives to come out and play. It was a place where people that had all of their little bitty skill sets, right? Like, you have your passion for this, or your passion for this, or your passion for this, and it united people. It brought all of those people together over color, right? So, like, to be
Yeah.
clear for people who didn't see this, we talk about it in terms of a film fest, and it was a film fest. It was a really great film fest, had this warm feel. I remember walking down behind history class in this little, like, alley road with Tamara Simmons, and she's this huge famous like, even I know who Tamara Simmons is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she just, like, takes her heels off, and she's, like, walking down the road, and in that moment, I went, "Oh," like, I love that these people that we think of, like Hollywood and New York, and they're very untouchable, bigger than life, very, like, buttoned up, unapproachable, like, they're just real people at their heart, and this festival gave them the comfort and security to be themselves, and so that was beautiful, not from a film standpoint necessarily, but to me, it was beautiful as, like, a human connective space to see those people say, like, "This is who I authentically want to be," and to unite for that. So people loved our town. They loved the heart of it. They loved the warmth and the, like, permission to be themselves, um, that I think we created here, and then you just told everybody red. And it's
Yeah.
like this is your superpower, because if you had told me like, hey, we need to get all of these people united, I would have been like, let's give everyone their piece, right? Like, how do I think that coffee should look? And I did this, right? If you'll remember when we had a meeting with the press, I said I would love a Redfish film flight, and they did that. But you
Mm-hmm.
said, I want you guys to dream up something red. And so if I would have had that meeting by myself, we would have had the flight. But you said red, and they tie-dyed their custom shirt. Their staff
Mm-hmm.
got involved and played along. They had a like champagne drink where you dropped cotton candy, the champagne turned red. So you just gave everyone a color and they all united. So I think it ended up being something so much bigger than just a film festival that was in these like nooks and crannies. It was already like the cutest little film festival because it took place in like the heart of our community, not like some big warehouse or big theater that's empty and hollow, like these warm spaces. But everyone came together with their own version of what red was, and it actually became, I would call it a community performance art, a community art installation.
Yeah.
I do
It
think
was.
that
Yeah.
we do, it's, I little bit hate that it's like Redfish Film Fest, because even like knowing what's coming next year, like the film fest is a huge part of that. That's where it all started. That's where your heart was. That's what we created. That will always be like the core mission. But my favorite part, as a not person who's like inundated in the film world so much, is that it's just a community art project. Like, it's this big art installation that everybody could come with their own creative vision, their own talent, their own thing. Like, I do not consider myself a creative. I don't. I am very like, it's funny that I'm on this podcast for creatives, because I like, so I've listened to your podcast and it's all like how to get creatives comfortable in the world of business. But I'm the opposite, right? I'm very, very comfortable in the world of business. I understand like the analytics and the data and the like the part of it, but I don't consider myself a creative. And so for me, if you had even said this is a community art project, I would have been like, probably not for me. Like, I can help on the back end, but because of who you are, and because I just think you're like a genius at PR and like getting people to where they need to be without telling them that's where they need to be, right? Because if you just said, hey, I need you guys here. Like, if we all had the ability to just like say and do that, we would just do that on our own. But you like lead people where you want them. And like, you're like, I see this in you. So we're going to go on this path, even though you don't see it. So I think you did that with our whole town. I think you gave everyone that permission to be themselves. And I think a lot of people, like, again, I was like, I am not a creative. And then sitting here today, I'm like, no, I think I'm going to be a producer. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely think I am a creative. I just never, we live in a town where like that can mean four things, right? I don't paint and I can't sing to save my life. And I maybe could have been a theater kid in another life. Like, I'm animated, so maybe, but at this
Mm-hmm.
point that wasn't something I was like pursuing. So I was just like, I'm not a creative because I don't fit into these like boxed categories of what a creative has to be in our town. And I really think that Redfish gave everyone the permission to be a creative in their way. So again, like a coffee shop, you're like, people would not consider that a creative, but they absolutely created something. We
Yes,
had
they did.
chefs that were like, we cook and their food, and we all know that, but it was art. They created these things. So I think that Redfish was really like a movement, a phenomenon, Redfish phenomenon, where people went from people to creatives. And every single year, at least we know once a year, there is a space in our town where we can be creative, all of us, not
And
just
you can.
those people,
It's those
everyone.
people, right? Because they air quotes those people, right? The creative folks who are
Yeah.
really because or who are really the audience for this. But what you just described is something that I've tried to explain to people is that there's a lot. Look, humans are all humans. Every human is creative by nature. We're the only creatures on the planet who make things that don't already exist, except for maybe like a beaver dam, right? Or things like. But it's not art. It's not made for pleasure or
Right.
aesthetic or
It's made for
aesthetics. It's a
practicality.
function, right? They're building things, but humans are the only things that make things because it makes them feel good. That's
Yeah.
special and it's rare and it's in our DNA. But it was amazing to watch what happened, and it even surprised even me when you said, what can you do with the color red? And they just it was the most we got we got a comedy show full of redheaded comics. We
Yes.
got a blues jam with red lights, and we got anyway. It was remarkable, and it makes me very happy that you're starting to see yourself that way, because as part of this community. And I don't want to say creative community to be exclusive at all. What I'm trying to say is more people belong there than they think do.
When
There's a lot of ways to be creative.
when I say redfish phenomenon, for me, that's what it was. It was this phenomenon of people who would have said a year ago, "We are not creative.
Mm,
We'll come enjoy this, but we can't be a part of it." And then it was this like explosion. Morgan Goodwin said this. I mean, not to have this quote, but it's so true. Where she said, like, our town has gone through a special door, and we're not going back. And
mm,
that's what I think it was that explosion of people to sort of say, even me.
yeah.
Yeah,
And even here, because that's another
even
thing
here.
too. Our town, Panama City, had and still struggles with a self-esteem issue. It's like special things are for other towns. They're not for us. Like,
Yeah,
we're Panama City. We can't do that. And one of the things I think, I hope, was one of the goals actually, is to show the town that yes, you can have special things, and actually they can be better than other people's. Like, this is something that other people will want to come through. And we had producers and filmmakers and others come from all over the country in year one.
yeah.
And
We had
yeah,
the owner of my company, his brother flew in from Chicago.
yeah,
And
Jerry.
over and
And by the
over
way, what's your
again,
company? Plug your company.
oh, Clemens Company.
Clemens
So
Company.
Scott and
Yep,
Ross are there, and then their brother Jerry came in.
yep.
Um, cut that out. What if I got the wrong brother's name? But he
No,
came in
Jerry
and they
came in.
found me on the lawn, and they were like, "This is." So another thing that I think was really a shift that was wonderful was that all of these amazing, amazing creative people that grew up in this town and felt like they had to leave to find a space
Mm.
for themselves came back for this because they were like, our town is doing a film festival. Like,
Right, right,
I
right.
really think it was almost like a charitable give back at first, right? They're probably like, now I'll lend my clout to my hometown because like I feel like it's the give back. You give back to your hometown. I don't
Yeah,
think that even they knew it when they first signed on to this what it would become. And I think now, like people had, I don't want to name anyone because it's very emotional for them, but I had
mm,
conversations with multiple people where they were just like, it would have changed the entire trajectory of my life
yeah,
if we had had something like this here and how special I get chill bumps thinking about it, but
yeah,
how special it is for our future generations to create that to where the children growing up in our community today, our college full of like digital media and creatives, all of those people now like they can stay here because people love this town and you're touring between the love of your town and the love of your passion. And I think the redfish phenomenon really told people like you can have both. You don't have to
yeah.
choose. Yes,
And
we
also
can.
too, because art, and just the point of this podcast is taking those creative ideas and that creative drive and all that stuff and turning it into a business specifically, and making it a real entity, not just an idea or a one-off project, turning it into something that can actually make you a living. You can make
Yeah.
money at it. So we've started Redfish, and this was because I know you have a background in the nonprofit world, but Lex, who everybody, if you were around Redfish, um, my business partner in Redfish, she and I don't have a nonprofit background. I didn't know how to start this. And most film festivals are nonprofits. And so I think that was a lucky thing for us, because I don't know nonprofits, but I know how to do a business startup. And so we started this thing like a business startup. And so financially, we were profitable in our very first year. And I'm gonna tell you what, this
That
was
doesn't
something I've had
happen in
conversations
business.
with people like all over the country, who do film festivals, like big film festivals, fell out of their chair, could not believe that we not only they assumed, this is totally surprised me, how common this belief was that film festivals, at least in their first 2 or 3 years, that by definition means you're going to lose money. Like, it's just obvious you're going to lose money. And we didn't only break even, we were profitable in year one. And so that really spun me up to like, wait a minute, there might be an entirely new model for doing creative events like this. They don't
Yes.
have to be, you don't have to be broke to do this stuff. You can make money. Now, we're not all like buying yachts and stuff like that, but we
Yet.
fully plan to this thing to be a fully staffed,
Yeah.
like year-round effort, which is why on the because we didn't have enough to do, on the heels of the Redfish Film Fest, we started a foundation. So I just, all this talk about I don't know how to do nonprofits. One thing we realized was that while Redfish Film Fest is a private entity, it's an LLC, and people who listen to this podcast have heard me talk about LLCs and why they're important and like how that all works. That's a business structure. We learned that it would be really good to have a nonprofit umbrella, like a parent
Yeah.
organization for the fest and for other, because when I say we, I mean Brittany and Lex and others that became part of this team. When we got done with the festival, we looked around and went, okay, well, that worked. That worked better than we thought it was going to work.
They could
What
have
else can we
imagined.
do? What
Yeah.
else can we do? And so we knew we had other ideas we wanted to do for the town. So we started the Redfish Foundation because that gives us an even bigger sandbox for bigger and more ideas. So tell everybody what the Redfish Foundation is, because by the way, Brittany is on our board,
Yes.
and then Brittany also too talk about giving people freedom. We were like, you want an email address, and she said yeah. So we gave her an email address. I said, well, if you have an email address, you have to have a title to go in your signature block, and so we just let you make up your title. So tell everybody what you are to this organization.
Honestly, I can't say in a podcast because it changes depending
Yeah,
on
yeah,
depending on who I need to be for that person. My
yeah,
title changes completely. But this is the best thing. So in creating a foundation, I will answer your question there. It's very
yeah,
important. I want
yeah.
to get
That's
to
fine.
it.
This
But
is a
when you're
long form
talking about
podcast. Take as long as you want.
right, when you're talking about making a business, I think it's important to note that like, so my background is in corporate entrepreneurship.
Mm,
My For fun, I used to help my friends like put together their companies and like started because a lot of creatives do not understand business. They don't like it. Like
no,
business is pretty
very few.
restrictive, and then creativity, and then like it's the antithesis of creativity for the most part.
Yeah,
So
yep.
for me, this is also, if anyone listening to this is a business mind, this is the best like case study of like
Mm,
you're creating a business. This is not like creating a business in terms of, oh, I'm opening a new restaurant. Creating a business in terms of like, I don't know other businesses. The only one I can think of is truly Disney. And it feels very
mm,
like grandiose to be like comparing yourself to Disney, but like you are the Walt Disney of Redfish. This is not like the business model here. It doesn't exist. So like it's hard to find a
right,
title
right.
because there's nothing like this, right? There's not, it
Yeah,
doesn't operate normally. My entire job description is be up to something. That's
yeah,
amazing. Do you know how much freedom that gives people to create and just to go like, hey, do I think this would, so for me personally, my one of my favorite things about Redfish is the like shock and awe of it.
yeah, yeah.
So I just go, the thing I love the
Surprise and
most is
delight,
this
right?
like, what?
Surprise and delight.
Surprise and delight. So for
Yeah,
me, like just to be told, like, hey, be up to something. Surprise and delight. It's got to be read, and we love collaborating with other people.
yeah.
It,
Off you go.
it's it's wonderful. So the
Right.
foundation, I think, expanded the branch. So like I said, we had the
Mm,
Redfish Film Fest, and it was wonderful. But it became so much more than a film fest immediately. Even in its first year, it was so much more than just a film fest. So I think that you guys very quickly, you and Lex saw that and were like, "Hey, this this is big. People want this. We can do this.
yeah,
It's amazing. People enjoyed it." We had people for weeks. Even now, people still are like, "I'm
yeah,
so sad I missed it. When are the dates for next year? I'm taking off work. I'm flying in." Like people will, even the really, really big people that we flew in, like I keep in touch
yeah,
with like some of them and they're like, I'm there. Like I'm
yeah,
not missing it ever again, even if I'm not on a panel because it was so wonderful. So I think the umbrella expanded that. It allowed us to say, if this is a town that we can create, if we can give people this permission and if we can do this here, like, why not us? We
Yeah.
can do it. Then that's a much larger umbrella, right? Because you can't have a film festival every month, and we wouldn't want to have a film festival every month. But it allowed us to say, what other types of things do we want in our town? That all of
Yeah.
the things that we travel to go to, or all of the things that we can dream up that hasn't happened, and you go, I wish somebody would do this. The foundation allowed us to do it. It allowed us to do it and bring it here and to teach our city how to be creative, to teach them that they can be creative, to teach them how to appreciate those things, because there were people that didn't come to the film fest because it
Mm.
was intimidating to them. They were like, I don't see the vision, I don't get it. And so the foundation allowed that to just sort of like open the floodgates, so that now you don't have this once a year inundation of art. We now just are a city that has world class arts, full stop. Not once a
Yep.
year, not in a limited way, not restricted. We can just create.
That's
Um,
it. Yeah. And the mission of the Redfish Foundation is world class arts and culture for Panama City, Florida. That's it. We just want to build our town, and we're focusing. So the other thing too is, just to be clear, is that we have world class artists, and we showed that, or they showed
yes.
that. We just gave them a place to come and find each other and create, and they showed that. And we have other arts organizations in town that do amazing stuff. But
Yeah.
we're a town that is growing and going to keep growing, and so we need all hands on deck. What we want to focus on at the foundation are those big, like, institutional things, those ones that are game changing for a town. So,
Mhm.
like a film festival, for instance, or an aquarium, or my thing. I want an arboretum. I want a botanical garden and arboretum so bad in Panama City. I'm like, in a past life I was um, I had property maintenance in the landscape business. I like being outside. I like plants. I had a whole gardening, and like, I raised chickens, and I had a whole channel about all that years ago. And so that's just something, when I go to a big city, I find the botanical garden. And that's, so why not? Why should we not have one here? And but you can't jam that through a film festival. That's got to be a bigger organization. And you're going to be going after large sums of money, and large sums of money, especially big corporate money, by their bylaws are only allowed to give money to nonprofits.
Yeah.
And so that's the vehicle for us, and
It
made a
also
even
is
bigger sandbox.
it also is true that, when you're trying to think of the way to phrase this, nonprofits, I think, at their core, do something for the betterment of the community.
Mm.
Not all businesses do, but most nonprofits, like you said, that's my background. I have worked with the vast majority of them in our town, and I get, for personal experience, the core of their mission is to better the community in whatever avenue they're taking. I think that this made sense for me to be a nonprofit in a non-slimy way, right? Like, it didn't become a nonprofit for a tax haven or to be manipulative or for any of those reasons. Because, like you said, you were like, I don't even know that world. It
Yeah.
really was just born for the community. We want to enhance the community that we live in. And our specific avenue for that is through art. But you're right. There's a lot of corporate dollars where they have to get back. They have to
Mm.
get back in some industry. Like, it's not even an option of like, we charitably, through the goodwill of our hearts, want to. A lot of industries have to. And so they give it to nonprofits, and this just made the most sense, right? Because
Yep.
people watching don't know, there was a lot of people that were like, I really, really, really want to help out here, but my budget only lets me help out for nonprofits. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also unique. Like, it sort of was reverse engineered. I think most people that start a nonprofit, like, they want to start a nonprofit. And I
Yeah.
think you wanted to create Disney World, and by nature it had to be a nonprofit. So
Yeah. And if for those, so Brittany and I, if you haven't figured out by now, we are Disney people. Brittany calls them Disney adults.
Disney
And
adults.
I always, in every room where I speak, I bring this up. I always poll the room and I say, okay, who are my Disney people out there? And funny enough, people raise their hands and they know what I'm saying. They know
I
what I'm
know.
asking. There are people who go to Disney World, and then there are Disney people.
Yes.
And Brittany and I are both Disney people. Matter of fact, my laptop that I'm sitting here, I literally have a book on Walt Disney Imagineering propping up my laptop up to get up near the camera that I bought when I was 19 years old.
Well, I can see
Because
behind you. I can see
Oh, right.
some
Yeah. I
Disney
forgot my
posters.
posters. Right. Right. So I love big posters. So I have my Splash Mountain and Epcot, and over there I have Maelstrom and I have Haunted Mansion and all. Anyway, yes. So we are like Disney people. If you go through my house, it looks like I have old black and white movie posters from old Mickey Mouse cartoons throughout my house. So we're Disney people. But I tell you what that did and continues to do is that became a nice shorthand for us. So as we're walking through downtown Panama City, I can say something like, okay, this year we want to have music throughout the footprint, like at the Magic Kingdom at night when you're walking through and the lights and you hear the thing and everybody, Disney people go, got it. I know what we're trying to do. Right.
Yeah.
That was a nice little shortcut for us to say, what if we made the historic downtown Panama City feel like the Magic Kingdom at night? And the people who understood that really understood it. They go, I know exactly the vibe you're going for. But that's what we're sort of trying to do with that. But also too, is I know you and I talk a lot about this. This has become one of my favorite analogies of sort of what we're trying to do. Because you said, I hadn't thought of it quite like that till you said it, was we're creating a business model that to our knowledge, I mean, I'm sure somebody's done something like this, but like we've never seen it. And so we're sort of the whole model of this. What has become one of my favorite analogies is when Walt Disney was building Disneyland and he walked out one day he had to have walked out into this orange grove in the middle of Anaheim in the desert and there's nothing out there. It's farmland. And he said, I'm going to build a castle right there. And even the people around him who had known him for a long time and knew how he was had to look. I know they did because I've seen interviews. They looked at him and were like, Walt, dude, you're jumping the shark on this one. Not even you have come up with something like this.
Yeah.
And so that's been an encouraging analogy for us as we're building this, as we keep going. We're building a castle in the orange grove over here, which means nobody's ever done this. And so there's nobody we can even really look at and say, but that's sort of exhilarating too. Right. And that we're doing it for a town we love is even more special.
I think too, the reason why Disney is so, I think the difference in Disney World and Disney adults is that some of us crave that immersive experience.
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself to be a Disney adult, everything in Disney is so curated, from the smells to the sounds, like everything is thought through. You're like, this is this light, bright place, but really there's some deep overthinkers behind the scenes.
They're holding you by the hand. They're walking you through it, and you see what they want you to see.
Yeah.
And you experience what they want. Yeah.
And I think that because you have that like PR brain, that's sort of like when I'm like, that's why Redfish will be like Disney for adults in my brain. Although Disney is absolutely for adults, but like a grown up version, like Disney Red, right? Disney Kevin's version. Yeah. But I do think that it's the immersion that I think is what we really try to hold on to, because whatever part of Disney you like, we all like that when you're in Disney, you're in Disney. The rest of the world happens outside of Disney. It is not intermingled. And I think that Redfish did that too. I think that's why people felt so comfortable, because when you were at Redfish, you're at Redfish. You don't know what's happening in New York. You don't know what's happening anywhere else. When you were in Redfish,
or care,
you were there. Yeah, that was it. It was like life does not exist outside of these square blocks that we have curated for you.
Yep. Yeah. And we are, so the foundation just did its first, so we wanted to keep this going throughout the year, like you mentioned, is that we can do art all the time. We can do cool stuff. And one of the most satisfying parts of this for me was how collaborative our downtown was. All the businesses, we went out and said, hey, would you, and then the faith they gave us is so moving, because nobody had ever seen this. And we went to them like literally door to door. Brittany and Lex, and we were just walking up and down the streets going, hey, we have an idea. Would you trust us, please? And they did.
They did.
But what we've done is we've collaborated with downtown businesses. We just threw our first Redfish Foundation pop-up event downtown.
Yeah.
and it was a great success. Tell everybody about that, and then we'll
Sure.
sort of wrap this up. But this is the kind of thing, like you said, surprise and delight. We learned that from Eric Darnell. If anybody in Panama City knows Eric Darnell from the history class, marketing and El Weirdo, and you just know Eric from being such a wonderful guy. But that was
Yeah.
he gave me those words. He said at our businesses, our goal is surprise and delight.
Yeah.
That's it. And I went, how perfect. And so it's a measuring stick. When you come up with an idea, you go, okay, will this be surprising? Will it be delightful? And it's such that's what we're trying to do now. So we've wholesale stolen that from Eric,
Thanks,
and we are
Eric.
using it ourselves. So yeah, we threw our first pop-up, and we want to do more and more and more kind of art all the time thing. So tell them about Red Hot
Sure.
Heat.
So, we have this. I'm just gonna speak to the town. Well, assume no one knows. Okay. We have downtown the cutest little bookstore, and it's all pink. So Jenny Kelly's the owner, and she knows her market. So her
Yep.
entire bookstore is like very curated for her target audience, and it's the cutest little space. And I say that because I am in her target audience, and
Yep.
then also our downtown is incredibly collaborative. And when I say like for me personally, I can interact with the world better because I've sort of had that ego death of like I can accept others for who they are. Our whole team has had that. So there at no
Mm.
point in Redfish has been a moment where anyone has said, well, we could do it better than them, or I don't want to collaborate with them. Like there has been none of that. It is always,
Mm.
it's like the improv of business. It's just yes and every time. So Jenny worked with Ashley, who owns Deadly Dose Hot Sauce, and they had done a collaboration. And Jenny said, hey, I just have this crazy, the phrase, "I have a crazy idea," has become
Yeah.
my
Our
favorite
favorite
thing to
thing.
hear
It's our
because
favorite thing. Right.
it's
Right.
what I feel
Right.
like almost every wonderful idea that comes out of
Uh,
Redfish starts with, "Hey, I have a crazy idea." So
yep.
Jenny
Yep.
had a crazy idea, and she said, "What if we all do something together? Like, I love all these things individually, let's put them together." And so we did. So we hosted it in Jenny's bookstore. That's again just the most adorable, like brick wall,
Yep.
cozy, but like relatable. It's just a wonderful space to exist in. And then Ashley created a red, right? Because everything is red, a red
Yep.
hot sauce that we branded for Redfish, and we got our own little hot sauce. And then in trying to figure out, like, so you have these wheelhouses, but you have to connect them, right? You have to give people the path to get from one to the other. So
Mm.
then we said, well, let's do a tasting, a hot sauce tasting. But rather than just come and do tasting, because we're surprised and delight, it had to be something different. We said, let's have a chef come, and we'll have a chef do a tasting menu where you can sort of pair the hot sauces with these little bites of food, like Costco for like really, really grown adults, little
Yep.
bites. And so we found a chef who, if any 100% chefs are not creative, I will die on that
Oh,
hill.
please.
They are
They're
artists.
food artists.
They're food
Food
artists.
artists.
So we
100%.
found
Yep.
a chef, and as just a side note, I will say that I have been completely in awe of how much creatives just love this stuff. You would think because it hasn't been
Yeah.
happening that they like are adverse to it. Every time we've gone to someone and said, "Hey, we want to collab on this," it's been the explosion of that
You know
redfish
what it is?
phenomenon, and seeing what happens
It
is
is. They're like, where have you been
incredible.
all my life?
Yes,
That's what they're giving. Like, oh my gosh, finally,
yes.
somebody's asking me to do the things I've always wanted to. Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Exactly.
found, we went to the chef that we had used for Redfish and said, "Hey, what about this?" And he said, "I'm out of town, but I have this person that I've mentored, and he's amazing. You guys would love him."
Mm.
And there's a lot of trust in this world, and so far it's worked out great for us. So we said, "Sure." And we reached
Sure.
out to that chef and had a conversation, and I just sort of said, "This is the idea. I have no like, I cannot." I'd make like microwave macaroni and cheese. Like that's my culinary experience. So he's like, "What are you guys thinking?" And I said, "I have no idea. We're
We're
not.
thinking
We're
we have
thinking
a
we
red hot
trust
sauce.
you.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
thinking
Right.
we
Right.
love collaborating with people who know they're like, this is your wheel. This is your world, your
Yep.
specialty, your passion. You tell us what we want." So then chef, me, Jenny, and Ashley all had a hot fish tasting to get like the flavor profiles of those hot sauces. And then the chef said to me, he's like, "I need you to trust me a little bit because this is what I'm thinking for bites." He goes, "But I will not make a final menu really until like very close to the event because he wanted to be sure that what he did was like fresh. So he wanted to be sure that he wasn't like thawing stuff out. He wanted to be sure that he had those
Yep.
locally sourced fresh ingredients that he could use. Um, and so it was trust, a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And then we had someone else on our team, Ellie. We told her like we need a bar, and again, surprise and delight. And so we had the chef collaborated there and said, I think a mojito would be nice because it'll help like with the heat. It'll balance it out with that like fresh mint and like sweeten it. And then so she did that, and we said we need a mocktail. So we had this like mocktail that was like a Shirley Temple, really, but like with this edible
Yeah.
glitter. And so it was like
Red.
swirly and just artistic in
Mhm.
and of itself. And what there's so many things in it. There's
Well,
this
it
like,
was, and we even, well, that was the thing when Jenny came to us and she said, when you talk about being a yes and
yeah,
person, that's one of our core values. So Redfish Foundation, we're building all of our foundational documents, and it's one of our core values is that ideas get better with others.
yes.
So when Jenny came to us and she said, you can have the bookstore, and I have a friend with hot sauce. Go. That was her idea to us. And we said, yes. And what if we had a chef do this? And she went, yes. And what if they did a signature redfish
Yeah.
sauce just for the night? And we went, yes. Instead, and then Lex came in
Lex is
and
just
said,
I
the
wish
best.
you have to do a podcast with Lex because people see you and
I will.
and they go, "Oh, this is Redfish," but really
Right.
Lex is such a crucial,
Oh, yeah.
pivotal. Like you
Lex
could
is
not do
everything.
any of this without Lex.
No.
She said
But,
she got put on the
sorry, go ahead.
screen. Like, what are we going to film? Because and this all started with a film festival, and so not that we want to
Yeah.
pigeonhole ourselves, but we want to honor that. We want to honor where it
Yeah.
came from. So you guys ordered this massive like screen, so now we can do pop ups whenever, wherever we want.
Yeah.
And Lex found a documentary. But I do not. She just does it. I don't know how she does
Yeah.
it. She found a
Yeah.
documentary that was like the first ever recorded like concert, and it was this
Yeah.
jazz concert. So in the focal point, you walk in, it's this like corridor, like shotgun New Orleans style building, and in the back of it, so you can see from every single spot in this building, you had the documentary playing, but it also served as the soundtrack. There's no words in
Yeah.
talking to this documentary; it's the concert. So it gave us all
Yeah.
of the ambiance, the giant screen. It was sort of a like vintage feel, which made the most sense in that space with the brick walls, very elevated bites. There are a few other things that I knew I wanted because this is our first foundation event, and I knew that it would be special. I think everyone knows this is something special. And you don't always
Mm.
know what that's going to be, but you know it's special. So I wanted to capture a way for everyone to be cataloged or be their own little part of it. So we did not a guest book, we did a burn book because it was hot.
Yeah.
So we
Sure.
made a little burn book that's like a red version of the Mean Girls burn book, and just put a Polaroid camera there. And this is what I mean when I say we get people a playground. So I set a red burn book there and a Polaroid camera. And Jenny had this beautiful like book arch in there that's a
Yep.
photo spot. So we set it right there, and people went crazy. We have pages. Someone kissed the book. Someone, so they're
Yeah.
like they put their photo there and they're all drawing all over it like it's all positive
Did
things.
you?
But
So I wanted to ask you. I hadn't even asked you this. So did Lauren and them? Did they write like the too hot to handle and all
yes,
that stuff in there? Are
everyone
you kidding?
decorated
So
their own page.
they
So when
decorate,
you
yeah, and they
see,
put in those. They put those things like you see in yearbooks,
yes,
right? Where it's like like the number 2 hot
yes,
2 handle, and then she kissed the page, and
with red
people just
lipstick,
knew what to do with it with red.
with
Of course, red lipstick.
lipstick.
Because she was dressed like a supermodel, like in this super red gown, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I meant to ask you was, did people? So with no prompting, people just picked that thing up in a Polaroid, and they knew what to do.
Yes.
It was remarkable.
Yes,
Yeah, remarkable.
and you can see that because like there's some variety in what people wrote. People did
Yeah,
stick to sort
yeah,
of not like yearbook esque
yeah,
type thing, which is probably
yep,
burn book. But the
yeah,
people wrote their own. Some people wrote like this is like we had people drive down from Dothan for this event, and
yeah.
so people wrote in there like how you sit in the back of the car, sort of like a damn what's in your bus, like Dothan 2024.
Right, right.
It was really,
It
really
was
cool.
remarkable.
And then
So,
the other little part of it that
sorry, go
we
ahead.
had was when you think of hot, you think of fire. And so I really
Mm,
wanted to incorporate fire in some way, but you're in a bookstore. So that's like very
yeah,
dangerous. But again,
yeah,
with the trust that people give us, I went to Jenny and I said, I I want to set something on fire in your bookstore. And she just said, we have fire extinguishers. Like, she did not believe in nothing. She just was like, we have fire extinguishers. Have it.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
figure it
even
out.
know that I told her what I was setting on fire. I think I just was like, I want to set something on fire. And she was like,
Right.
okay, have at it. So then
Yeah.
at the end, we started had the chef come out and surprise people and do a like bananas Foster that caught on fire.
Mm.
I'm missing a really huge part of this. We also had also see, this is what I mean you creative. There's a lot of yes, and then we did
Yeah,
this, and
sure.
then we did this. We
Yep.
had a hot ones interview, so with hot sauce. We thought, how can we
Mm.
honor the hot sauce part of it? And when I think of hot sauce, I think of the hot ones interviews. That they do where
Sure.
they get the like 10 wings and you eat it and it gets hotter as you go. And
Yep.
then they ask you a question in between. So we had you and Ellie interview you and do a hot
Mhm.
ones interview, which I thought was
About the
really
foundation. Yeah.
it was my favorite. It was probably my favorite part of the night was that interview, because I think that
Oh.
it brought everyone in. Like everyone sort of just like got quiet and stood around and
Hmm.
watched you guys answer these questions and
But also too, like you
laughed.
said, the surprise and delight is that, and that was your idea, was the, I never would have thought of that. But to go, yeah, let's not just do an interview and have you talk about yourself and about the foundation. Let's do it in an entertaining, surprise and delight kind of way. And that's been one of the, I tell you, it's so, if you're listening to this and you can't tell that we have fun with this, then I don't know what else we can do to convince you how fun this is. I'm watching, and this is, and then I have one last question for you, but this is one, I'm watching, there's a documentary on Disney Plus right now on Industrial Light and Magic. Are you familiar with them? ILM? So ILM was started by George Lucas when he was making the Star Wars, the very first Star Wars movie. And the special effects he had in his mind for that film were so different and groundbreaking. There were literally nobody on earth who knew how to do what he wanted. They did not exist. So he created the team to make the things that did not exist. That was his castle in the orange grove. And so he started, he literally built this team of like scallywag pirate artist builder, like they had like motorcycle mechanics and like all these crazy pirate people. He put them together and he said, build me spaceships, build me these scenes, build me all this stuff. So the stuff you see in Star Wars had never been done on Earth before. When he got done with that, he went, oh, well, this is pretty great. So he turned it into a business called Industrial Light and Magic because they were working in an old crappy warehouse in Van Nuys, California. So he's like, this looks kind of industrial. And what do? We do light and magic. And so now they are every major movie you've seen with incredible sound, special effects, CGI, all that was created by Industrial Light and Magic. You just didn't know it.
I had no
And that's
idea.
so that in a weird way, that's George Lucas's greatest creation was ILM. They're just Google movies made with ILM technology. It's every movie you've ever seen. And so that really, I've been watching it this week and it resonated. It made me think about this when you and I are going to talk. It's like, and again, I know it might sound arrogant. I don't know that we're comparing ourselves to Walt Disney and ILM, but it has to feel the same way. And like when you hear these
Yeah.
people talk about what that was like to build those things, they're describing exactly the way we feel when we talk to each other. So,
Yeah. You
um,
told me
it,
something early on where I said, like, I was like, I have this idea and it's crazy. And you said, there are two types of, like, two reasons things are not done. Either
yeah,
because it's a bad idea, so no one's doing it because it's a bad
terrible
idea,
idea. Yeah,
or because you have to be really brave to do something no one's ever done. And so I
yeah,
think it is like, obviously, we're not putting a castle in Orange Grove or creating a lighting studio, but I bet that feeling of
yeah.
we're on the brink of something really amazing or we're completely insane is
Right.
very, very similar.
That's a very fine
It's
line,
a very
and I'm
fine
telling
line.
you. And so the more I,
And you
so
can't decide
that
it. Other people get to tell you which one of those
that
it
they tell
is.
you,
Um,
yep,
so that's the scary
yeah. So
part.
that's okay. So my last question for you
Yeah,
is because we actually do have a meeting we have to get on
we
in like
do.
40 minutes to talk with Lex and plan all the stuff we've been talking about. So last question for you is how does it feel to be a creative now?
Oh, it's wonderful. So after, oh, I am gonna cry. No, okay.
Cry.
You were like,
Make
we're
sure
gonna
it's high
cry on this
res.
podcast. So I was like, no, I'm gonna keep it
Yeah.
together. So good. It's like there's this part of you where you feel sort of like this disconnect from the world, and then you just tell yourself like it's just normal, right? Like we've all been told that like life isn't always rainbows and sunshine and butterflies. So there's part of it that you are just enduring, or there is a disconnect where you're like, but I'm okay, you know? And
Mhm.
so after that, the event that we did at our foundation, a group of us ended up back at Lex's Airbnb because Lex is here for this. And so
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
ended up at Lex's
And
Airbnb.
Lex lives in LA. For those that don't know
Yeah.
anything about this stuff, Brittany and I live in Panama City. Lex is from Panama City, but
Yeah.
she lives in LA and with her husband. Yep. Okay.
Yes. So we
So she
all
flew in.
ended up back there with Lex, her husband Greg, Megan Cavastian, I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure, me, Ellie. And there was
Kasabian.
this moment, right? So you all know when you're like at an event, you go out drinking, you end up back somewhere. Like it's normally like drama or debauchery. Those are the two things that, in my experience,
To
how those
finish off
nights
the night,
end.
right? Right.
But instead of that, we all sat around and just brainstormed. Like
Mm.
everybody was like, it was just this like fire ignited in people, which is funny because it's like a too hot event. But you just, at
Yeah.
the end of it, the main feeling that everyone felt was like, we just want more. So we sat around and just like brainstormed and created. And to your point, like, yes, like I have realized like every good idea I've ever had is only made better by sharing that with another creative.
Yeah.
So it's been really, really, really deeply fulfilling. Deeply, you told me at
Good.
one point, you said, I like, we need to pay you for this because I just inserted myself, right? So you weren't like you
Yeah.
and Lex are like, we founded this, we have a reason to have this buy-in, and you were, I
To
think
do
you
it for
felt
no money,
bad. You were
right?
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're kind of doing a lot, so do I need? And I was like, no, because like this thing that I mean, it's just been the most beautiful, like blossoming discovery, a part of myself that I didn't know existed, and realizing that all these people that I look at and I go, man, I wish. I always say that people who can sing and people who can speak foreign languages have a special place in my part because their brain works differently. And
Yeah.
that's like true of all creatives, right? They just speak this different language that I always felt on the outside of. And so realizing that, like, no, I have a place in this world that felt very beautiful, but very unattainable to me has been like truly like one of the best things I've ever done, that I've ever been a part of. And I am so grateful. Like I get emotional because it is just
Mm.
this most special. I don't know a better word, but special is
Yeah.
very, very special and is very
Well,
wonderful
I
to be a
know
part of
Lex and
that.
I feel the exact same way that you ever came along because we say it all the time. Like we had some ideas and we were working on them, but it never would have been what it was unless you had come along and inserted yourself.
Yeah.
So, by the way, maybe there's a lesson, right? Like if you're out there and you're a person that maybe doesn't even think of yourself as a creative, but you see something going on that you want to be a part of, go make yourself part of that team because I promise you, they'll if they are truly creative type people, they won't say no. They'll be happy you're there.
Yeah.
And so you were a game changer for us. Anyway, I'm really glad that we did this what are we at? We're at one
It
hour and
cut.
three
So we'll
minute
never know.
test of the podcast platform. I'm really glad we got this. So
Me
thank you,
too.
Brittany.
Yeah.
And just for everybody, just to do our little marketing at the end, if you're curious about Redfish Film Fest, it's redfishfilmfest.com. All of our social handles are at Redfish Film Fest. The foundation, same thing, at Redfish Foundation. You'll find us. And we hope, and also April 24 through 27, 2025, we are actively working on it, literally getting on a call in 33 minutes to keep working at this. So, Brittany, thank you for this. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you for having an awesome background.
Thank you.
And didn't you wash your hair for this?
I
Like,
did.
so
I
thank you
did.
for,
And those
yeah. So,
girlies that have really long, thick hair, no, that is not nothing.
yeah, that's not nothing.
That's not
So
nothing.
thank you very much. All right. Well, we'll get off of this one and go get our next meeting.
Yes. I'll see you in just a
All
minute.
right. All right. Bye.
Bye.